Hi everyone, it's author Sandra Wilson, and today we're taking another step along the Storybook Trail. These Storybook Trail videos are made to create inspiration so that you can create stories of your own. So sometimes there'll be inspiration and where to find these ideas. Sometimes there'll be ways to use those ideas to further your story, maybe to add a twist or some excitement. And some of the videos will talk about putting those ideas together into a story. So make sure you check in each month and so you can see all the steps on the Storybook Trail. In fact, perhaps you should subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a step. So today we're talking about perspective. A perspective means changing the point of view or changing how you look at the story. So it could be a story that you're familiar with, and then what if you changed the perspective of that story? Let's give an example. So let's say we have a story about a truck with a flat tire. So we could have this whole story written about how they got the flat tire, where they were going when they got the flat tire. Maybe the truck is the character, or maybe the character is driving the truck. And we can have all this adventure about this flat tire. Maybe they're on an adventure and they get a flat tire, and that's part of the problem that they have to solve in order to get through the book. So we could create this whole story about a flat tire. And that's a great story. But, maybe you want to add a little bit of a twist. Maybe there's something else you want to do to add excitement. That's where you can change the perspective. So what if we added something else? So now this truck with a flat tire is actually the toy of this little boy. So now you have this whole story about this truck and this journey in the flat tire. What happens to the story when you add the fact that it's the toy of the little boy? So that's what I mean by changing perspective. What we're doing is we're sort of changing the view that we're having. So either we're changing the character's view, maybe to do the other character. So if you have a character, a good guy and a bad guy, you can tell the story from the perspective of the good guy, or you can tell the story from the perspective of the bad guy. And it's kind of a way to change up a story, maybe that you already know, that you can sort of alter it a little bit because you're changing perspective. What if it was the car's perspective, for example? Maybe the car was on this journey. How does the car see this little boy? If it's a toy car, how does it see the world? So that could be a perspective change that normally we think about, the people, the big characters in the story. But what happens to the little characters? Maybe they have a different view on the world. The world would look so much different, so much bigger. So by changing the perspective of how you're looking at the story, you actually can change the story up. You can add a little bit of a twist, like, oh, you know what, it's a toy. Or it can just give you that inspiration you need to put that excitement into your story. So today's step then is to create a story from a different perspective. Maybe you've already started a story, or maybe you've got one stored away. What if you change the perspective of that story? Maybe it's one that you already know, that you've read yesterday. Is there a way you could change up the story? In Charlotte's Web, the story takes place about Wilbur the pig, mainly as the main character. So what if we told a story from one of the other characters' point of view, like Templeton the rat? His vision of the story would be completely different because he sees things differently, one from his size and the work that he does. Maybe he feels like he's doing all the work, getting all these words, and he's not getting any of the recognition. How's that going to make him feel? So it's a way to change the perspective. Perspective could also mean changing the view of the story. So for example, the toy. So from a full car to a toy car, that's changing the view. From a mountaintop to a valley, that would be changing the view. So if you're looking on a mountaintop at all the world around you, you have quite a wide view. If you're down at the bottom, your view is not as wide. You can't see as much. So the story is more contained and you can only talk about what you can see, which are the cliffs, the walls of the cliffs, of the sides of the mountain and things like that. But at the same time, maybe there's something else you can see because you have that vantage point of just being down there. Maybe there's something important down there that you can't see from up there. So it's just a way to kind of get those inspirational imagination ideas flowing to work on a story of your own with a perspective twist. Give it a perspective twist, either from a story you've already read, changing the character or the view, or as you're creating a story, add that perspective twist in there to give that story a little bit more excitement. So make sure you click on the description below to go to the webpage where there are more ideas for creating stories, as well as books. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our Storybook Trail videos, and make sure you check out the ones we've had before as well. And then you'll be on your way to creating a great story. Bye now.